Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode here in NHL 23. So in last episode, we had free agency and we started up the season sim, and as you can see, once again, we are not doing too hot. Now, I don't really know why we're not playing so good, but it seems like maybe our age is catching up to us, or maybe the game doesn't like the fact that back like a few years ago, I signed like a bunch of guys to like long-term deals and kind of cheesed their contracts. But we are 14, 23, and 4 at January the 13th and way out of a playoff scenario. As you can see, the last wildcard spot at the moment has 47 points, and we're at 32. So basically, we're 15 points back of that wild card spot, and I don't see this team making it back into the playoff hunt. So, more likely, we are going to go to build the route of basically trying to basically have a good odds at getting the number one pick this year, because obviously getting a good pick in the draft would maybe help us out in the future, but for right now, I think the rest of the season we're probably going to just try and like get ourselves to fall off even more so, and have hopefully some good lottery odds at number one. Because obviously, I don't really want to all of a sudden get myself back to getting like just a 500 team, because they're also gonna have like the 15th overall pick, and we're gonna get stuck drafting just more top 6 forward prospects. I'd rather get my chance at an elite prospect instead, and that can maybe help with like the secondary scoring behind like Asher Vance and all that type of thing. So I think for the rest of the year, we're just going to, like I said, tank and see what happens. So before we get into simulating the rest of the season and probably making a few trades to maybe knock us off even more so this season, I do have a couple comments to go over. So the first ones are from Michael Dose. The first one says, really just don't like the defense and the plus minus. It varies that they are struggling. The defense needs to be all redone. Corrado is horrendous too. LOL. So I don't know about redoing the entire defensive core, because basically how I see it right now with the defensive core, I know it's not doing that well, but Brunstrom should be here till he retires. He is getting close to that anyways. Yokel is somebody that I'm trying to still build this defense around. And then we have the young guys, Kachuk, Hutton, Del Monte, Leonardo Knights, also Kamachi. Like, all those guys are kind of guys I want to build around. Kamachi maybe not so much, but definitely Hutton, Kachuk, and Del Monte. Leonardo Knights maybe is the type of guy that eventually leaves this team, but I honestly don't see any room for making this defensive core any like different than it currently is. So we might have to keep it together. We might have to make a tough decision in the offseason with that, but I'm going to keep it the same. And same with the goaltending for now, I think, too. But I think what we do need to address is probably the forward group. Like you're saying, Corrado has been horrendous. He is a minus 26 in 41 games. Not really living up to that contract. We gave him 5 by 5.9 right now. Not really good. So I'm going to probably be looking to, I think, move out from him and also from Dwight Adamski. The two of those guys, like Adamski's a pending UFA, so I think I might move the two of those guys out and then let's play some youngsters from the AHL and keep the rest of this team the same the rest of the year. So we still will have an okay looking roster, but we will be integrating maybe somebody from the AHL, like, for example, Gustavo Brown could get called up if we really want to. And then we also still have like Generous or Nighty we could even play in the lineup for the rest of the season. But we're going to make a little couple subtle changes to try and see if this team tanks a bit more, and hopefully intertwine some of our younger guys into the lineup. But yeah, if we get a really good prospect in the upcoming draft, I think that could probably take the change the complexion of this team a little bit, because you could see we're kind of weak in terms of like wingers aside from Vance. Like, Vance is definitely the best player. Everybody else is now an 85 and below. So our team has definitely seen better days, so hopefully we could find a way to change that up a little bit for next season. We might also look for a new coach in the offseason as well to just try and get this team to being much better than they actually are right now. And then the last comment from Michael says, I agreed on your analysis of the defenseman. Great job. I think upgrading the goalie and trading away Blackburn for 2 picks. So he's saying great job on upgrading the goaltender. Yeah, so we did upgrade a goaltender, and we went to Ron Torres. We signed him, I think, to 2-year deal, right? Yeah, 2 years at 5.2. So he still will be our guy for now, but maybe we trade him at the draft if he's not that good at the end of the year, because Tayupkin technically is a starting goaltender. He has not been good as a backup, mind you, but I still would rather try and use him as a starter since we actually drafted him ourselves. And then the last comment we have is from Saturn Otaku, who says, roll out the tanks and hope you get the first overall pick, because anytime a power forward goes in the top 5, they invariably become a stud. I never think I've heard of that word invariably, but yeah, they do usually become a stud. And there was, I think, 2 power forwards in the top 5, if I remember right. Let me take a look at the draft class again because I honestly do not remember. Yeah, so the first overall pick is a power forward in Gem. We don't know if he's a franchise or an elite player yet. And then there's also this guy who's a power forward and potentially this dude too. So it'd be really nice to get an elite power forward in this draft if we are to fall off. So those were the comments I got in last episode. So let's go ahead and make some trades and see what we could get because I have not pre-scouted any trades or anything at all because I have had no interest on pre-scouting trades out with this series. Wow, Brookbrink's actually getting close to being NHL ready already. That's good. See, things like that is going to also potentially help out our lineup a bit. But let's make a trade first and see what we can get for Corrado. Probably not much. Yeah, we can't really get too much for him. I can get a 3rd and a 4th round pick. I think that's something I might just have to do, to be honest. I know it's not really a huge return, but the guy literally is making 5 by 5.9, and we offload every single penny of that cap. We don't have to retain anything. Unless there's anything Colorado has that's a bit more interesting in the 3rd and the 4th, but I don't think so. I do not think so, because Colorado's still kind of in the rebuilding state, correct? Yes, I think so. Yeah, they're not doing well at all. So I'm surprised that they actually even want to give up some picks. They won't want to give up prospects because of that. So yeah, let's just do this. Corrado for a 3rd and a 4th. So good luck, Colorado. I know you're playing in our division now, but I do not like that plus minus, and we need to change up some things. So there you go. Corrado has been dealt to the Colorado Avalanche. We are already going to go and call up Gustavo Brown because I am going to be playing him. I don't really care. There is a lot of guys in the AHL I could play. But for right now, we're just going to call him up, and we're just going to go best lines in our NHL team. Now, Colorado is over the cap, so I don't know if that was a smart move for them to do. But I'm at the stage where I don't care. They actually are going to be playing him in the NHL, which is good, though. So he's not just getting sent to the minors. Okay, now let's also trade away Adamski because he is a pending UFA. So might as well because he would probably walk to free agency anyways. So there's probably no point on me keeping him. He's also not been really that great. Well, he's been okay, but still, we got to get rid of him, I think. 3rd and a prospect. What else we got here? Trying to figure out something that might be the best bet. A lot of low top 6s and low 9s. Don't really want to take a player back in a deal, but it seems like I have to. Bob is low 9, low 6 and a 3rd. Let's just do this one with Pittsburgh here. We get another prospect in that's low top 6. And we get a 3rd round pick. This guy must be not that good, though, but let's just take a look at him anyways. He's just going to be playing in the AHL with all the other good guys. He was undrafted, apparently, but still, we'll just take him as the extra player. Why not? So there we go. Adamski's off to Pittsburgh. And we should be able to go and edit our lines now. So let's go ahead and do that. Set that up, and then I think we'll probably not make any more moves. I know you guys want me to address the defense, but I think I'm going to keep that the same for now. Let's try and rework this a bit and see if we could get something looking decent. Yeah, you're okay to be there, I think. Naidi could be in the lineup. I want Gustavo Brown in over Generous. And I do want to send down that low top 6 because there's no reason for him to be in the NHL. We could probably call somebody else up into his replacement. So we'll send down Bertram, and I will call up... I know these guys go through waivers, right? Yeah, everybody goes through waivers except for like Benino and Rizzi. I could call up Rizzi, but I don't want to risk his development. So Corbett, let's see, 4th round selection, and McNabb was the former 1st round selection, who did play 14 games last year and was a good depth forward. Let's call up McNabb as the other depth option for the rest of the season, and go best AHL lines. Nobody should be scratched. Yep, nobody's scratched. That's good. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working with for the rest of the season. It's still pretty much the exact same roster in a sense, but now Bursch is getting second line time to hopefully get him some more development. Gustavo Brown is going to be getting an opportunity in the lineup, which is really nice because obviously I wanted to get him in before, but I wasn't able to, but now I can. And the defensive core obviously stays the same, and goaltending too. So those are the only changes we are going to be making, and yeah, let's simulate the rest of the season, I think. Unless, if we start to win a shit ton of games for no reason, I might still want to make another move just to make us tank, but at the same time, I don't really know if that's necessary, because I don't want to be a team that, like I said, is a tweener team that finishes like 500, and then just gets like a 15th overall pick. We want to have our sights set on a very high pick if possible. Let me take a look at the draft board though. What do we have for picks this year? Wow, we have 4 third-round picks this year. Okay. We also have a 4, 5, and 6. So we might be able to use those thirds and that second to move up even higher in the first round if we have like an 8th overall pick, for example. So there is a chance we could move up into the top 5 if we don't have a top 5 selection at the end of this season. So let's continue simulating and see what happens. Obviously, we still hope that Vance could simulate really well because obviously Asher Vance, that's the only thing I don't like about tanking the rest of the season. Is Asher Vance, Reefers, Brunstrom, all those guys are getting older. So obviously we want to win now, but at the same time, this team is just not going to make the playoffs this year based on how we are simulating. Like, look at there, 3 more losses in a row, 4 losses in a row. Like, we're just doing whatever we can to get that first overall selection now. Okay, let's continue simulating. We're just continuing to lose. 7-1 over Ottawa is a big surprise. Some prospect on waivers. Oh, he's 28 years old, jeez. Former first-round pick. I mean, if we wanted a depth forward, I would be willing to take him in, but we don't really need another depth forward at this stage. My second-round pick for a guy, no thank you. We are way out of a playoff scenario, so there's no way I'm giving up picks. 17, 30, and 4. Yeah, we are definitely on the tank. We are currently tied for the second worst team in the league with the Boston Bruins. The worst team in the league right now is the Flyers. Let's keep going. Let's keep going because we know we're not going to be a playoff team. There's no way possible almost at this stage, which is fine with me because at least we still have a lot of young guys, so a lot of them are going to start to get development, and that's going to hopefully help us out in these last 2 years. I'd love to get ourselves a Stanley Cup, but I don't know how long that's going to take for us to get another Stanley Cup. Now we're all of a sudden starting to try and win games, which I do not like. Flyers have fired their head coach. We are now 23, 35, and 4. We are still one of the worst teams in the league, but the Flyers are absolutely dog shit. 37 points. We have 50 points. Wow. They only have 16 regulation wins, and then the Bruins have 18. So those 2 teams might get the first overall selection, but we're definitely one of the worst teams in the league at the moment. Vance is still doing really well. Like, he might hit 50 goals on this team, which would be kind of insane. He's still almost point per game as well. And last wildcard spot, out of curiosity, has 15 more points than us. So yeah, we're definitely way out of it, which is fine by me at this stage because I just got to embrace the tank the rest of the season. And then hopefully next year we're better, but at the same time we might have more drop-off, which is not ideal. So let's go to the deadline. I don't think I want to make any more trades, though. I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not going to make any more trades. We're just going to keep simulating like this. Let's just go... And it doesn't really matter. We'll just go continue simulating because we're not even going to jump into the trade deadline. I really hope we get a good pick, though, in this draft. I really do. Let's take a look at the trades that happened at the trade deadline just for fun. But if Asher Vance hits 50 goals with this team, that would be friggin' hilarious. Because this team should not be doing well at all, and they aren't. And Vance is just still doing well. Alvin Skilly, our former player, got dealt to Philadelphia. Anything else interesting to bring up? A lot of these guys are just EA-generated players, but still just looking for any former players if there is any. Or any huge trades, which I can't really tell if there's any. So there you go. There we go. Let's get the rest of the season simulated and see if Vance can hit 50 goals on a non-playoff team. It's kind of crazy that we have to be in this type of situation, though, because I expected this team to be much better this season, and also last year I didn't expect us to be that bad. So it is very concerning that we're not doing that well. As Kachuk gets injured, let's go replace player on that. And now we're all of a sudden trying to win games here late, which is kind of annoying because I don't want to cheese us out of a top 5 pick. We are still one of the worst teams in the league at the moment, so that's good. But yeah, it kind of sucks that our goaltending situation isn't doing as good as I was hoping it to do. Because obviously Tyukin as a backup has not been that type of guy, but I hope that he could be that starter. Hutton is dropping off due to individual performance, damn. Yeah, he's having a tough time morale-wise. I don't know why. Maybe, oh, wow, we're definitely having like a little bit of a morale crisis in our lineup, I think. Because a lot of guys are dropping off randomly. That's not ideal either, considering a lot of those are young guys. So I hope that they kind of rebound from that next year. But yeah, we're definitely a non-playoff team. 27, 42, and 5. We're trying our best to get that top pick, hopefully, this year. Obviously, we're going to find that out in this episode. We lost 10-5 to the Bruins. Holy crap. That's a team that is worse than us in the standings, and we allowed 10 goals against them. Well, that's actually a great sign. That means we might be the worst team in the league in that sense. The Flyers are still behind us by 10 points, though. We might have a top 3 selection this year. Regardless, like I said, we have a lot of thirds we could try and move up as well. And we have assets we could probably move out too if we want. Come on, guys, do not win these games. I want to just cheese the rest of the way. 66 points. Yeah, we're not going to finish dead last. But it looks like we're going to finish like third worst in the league. Which is not bad. Not bad at all. 30, 46, and 6 is our final record on the year. And, okay, Brossoit ended up leading the team in points. I don't know where he came from, but 86 points in 82 games. So we had guys over point per game, which is kind of a surprise, considering we missed the playoffs. But let's take a look at the team stats and player stats for the season and wrap up this year. And then we'll get to the awards and all that, the draft lottery results, see where we're drafting for next episode. But I think we were the third worst team, if I'm not mistaken. We were the second worst team, so Boston managed to tie us, and we had actually identical records, but they had more goals for than us or something like that, so. Actually, they had one more ROW, which I don't know how they did because we had the exact same record. So Boston finished above us, so we have a very good odds at getting the top pick, potentially, which is really nice. Goals for per game wise, we were not the worst offensive team, but we are bottom 10. Goals against per game wise, this is where we definitely struggled. We were the third worst defensive team in the league. Power play percentage wise, our power play was actually pretty good this year. Wow, we had a top 10 power play at 19%. Yet our offense was not really that great. 83.9% on the PK is not terrible either. So our special teams were good, but our regular strength was not. 4 shorthanded goals, 11, 26, and 4 on home ice. A 19, 20, and 2 on the road. Damn. Crazy. Let's take a look at these player stats and see who did what. So, starting off with our centers. Vance had 48 goals this year, so he didn't hit 50, but he was very close to on a non-playoff team. Over point per game on a non-playoff team is pretty good too. Yeah, good season from Vance. This is his first minus year, though, in quite some time. But the guy literally has 819 career goals now. So he is pretty close to getting to like that 900, 1,000 goal territory. Damn. He hasn't hit 50 goals in a few years, which is not great. But that is probably because of the quality of the team. So there's Vance. Reefers hit 71 points, so that's not too bad. He's still dropping off a lot. We might have to find a new like top line center in the off season, because Reefers might have to be that second line guy, because he's definitely declining a lot faster than I expected. Burrish 40 points, minus 23, not bad in the point department. Hopefully he gets some development because of that. Martin's 25 points, solid. Ziska 23 points. Gustavo Brown had 10 goals in 41 games, 13 points. Not the most offense, but 10 goals. It means he was on pace for like a 20 goal season. And that's playing mostly on like the third line. So hopefully he's able to jump to the NHL full-time next year, if we're able to find a way to put him in. Jenner's had 3 points in 5 games. Gustafsson, 33 points, 82 games, minus 18. Huxley, 25 points, minus 10. Okay. Brossoit, 86 points is kind of a big surprise. This guy is also dropping off. More points than last year. So there's that. Recchi, 46 points, minus 35. He is dropping off a lot, too. Yikes. Recchi might be in early retirement in the series, so we might have to look for some new guys to replace some older guys like Recchi, for example. How many years does Recchi have still? Oh, 2 years left at 8. We might have to trade Recchi in the offseason if we want to free up more cap. I don't know. Zuber's had a good year, 32 points. That's nice. Knighty had 6 points in 45 games. He was doing really good as a depth forward, but then since being put as a full-time NHLer, he was not that type of guy. Defensively, Jokela had 45 points. Brunstrom had only 19. I know some of you guys are telling me to trade Brunstrom, but he should probably retire here. His offense is just gone now. So that is not ideal. It could be also because the team's quality is getting much worse, but he's an 85 overall, but all of a sudden his offense is just not there. Hutton 18 points, Knights 14 points, Del Monte 12 points, minus 29. Yikes. Kachuk 8 points, and Kamachi 1 point. Goalie-wise, Torres had an 897, which is not really ideal, and Tayukin had an 876. So yeah, I think there's definitely some more change to come this offseason, but yikes in the plus-minus department. The only plus roster player was nobody. Everybody was minus except for one depth guy. Reefers was the best in terms of plus-minus, so he was a -4 because top line at least scored some goals. So there is that. Surprised that Vance didn't finish first on our team in points. But let's take a look around the league. See who did what. Sale Van Parks in Montreal, 115 points. Jeez. Cornet still up there. It's usually always the same type of guys. 2 guys for Seattle. One of them is our former player in Kasper Halttunen. Are you kidding me? How did he just have 104 points? This guy since leaving us has been really good. And he's only had 1 playoff appearance since leaving us in these last 10 years. That's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Manlow up there too. Gavin McKenna. Best goal scorer was Parks. Moses also hit 60 goals. Vance was actually like top 10 in goal scoring, all things considered. So that's kind of crazy. Defensively, the best defenseman for points, Maurice Langlois in Seattle was 66. I know I should have maybe tried to trade for this guy a couple years ago, but $15 million would have been really pricey to have on the back end. Christensen also up there. Coburn, Hendrickson, Pisani. Wow, Pisani dropped off a lot production-wise. He signed in New Jersey. Dropped down by 23 points. So there's that. Goalie-wise, the best goaltender to Lola in Vegas. 43 wins. Most shutouts, Svedberg in Arizona with 8. Best save percentage by a starter, Svedberg also in Arizona, still injured though apparently. And goals against average wise, it is Hagos in Montreal. But Svedberg is also up there. Any goalie goals for fun? No goalie goals. 4 goalie assists from Heino. And the rookie of the year is Matthew Bégin with 54 points. So there is all that. There is all that. Let's find out about the Stanley Cup winner this year and also the draft lottery and all that stuff too, because I want to know if we're going to have the top pick in this year's draft or if we're going to have to try and move up a little bit to get it. Regardless, if we have a top 5 pick, that's great because we get an elite player, but at the same time, I shouldn't be in this situation. So we should be kind of more in a situation where we're trying to fight for playoffs and all that, or for a Stanley Cup, but instead, we had to go a little bit more of a rebuilding route. And Seattle has won the Stanley Cup, and Wilkes-Barre has won the AHL. So Seattle winning the Stanley Cup, that might be the first time in this series. So congrats to former player Kasper Halttunen winning the Stanley Cup. They won over the New York Islanders. There we go. Let's take a look at those awards. So, Stanley Cup champions, the Seattle Kraken. Vegas won the President's Trophy, and Seattle and the Islanders in the Cup Finals. Sale Van Parks, the Art Ross for the 2nd year. Actually, the 3rd year in the last 5 years. This guy's insane. Also, he wins a Hart. Langlois to Norris. Also, Halttunen won the Lady Byng. Shout out to our former player. Bégin to Calder. Halttunen to Conn Smythe. If only we kept on the Kasper Halttunen, huh? Hagos won the Vezina for Montreal and the Jennings. That's kind of surprising that he beat out Svedberg, but must have been more games played. Jackson the Masterton, Kadri the Jack Adams. That's kind of weird seeing Nazem Kadri as a good coach. I mean, I think the guy could be a good coach in real life, but I'm not 100% sure with that. Seems a bit weird. Chubarov the Selke. Parks wins another Lindsay. Parks also wins another Richard. And that is it for NHL awards. AHL-wise, hey, look at this. Hemingway was the best point getter in the entire AHL for our Rockford Ice Hogs. So shout out to Hemingway, even though I think he's a low top 6 only. And that is going to be our only award in the AHL. So there we go. There is the award winners. And now we find out if we have the first overall selection, and then we'll look at the draft class and stuff like that, because I don't want to know if there's a franchise player yet. I don't want to know what I'm missing out on if I don't get the first overall pick. So, do we have the best pick in the draft for 2041? Let's see. No, we do not. We fall from 2nd to 4th. Winnipeg moves all the way up from 10 to 1, though. Philadelphia gets shafted. They move from 1 to 3, and Boston moves up 3 to 2. So we should probably try and move into the top 3 a little bit more if we want to, but it depends on, I guess, who's there. Regardless, we're getting ourselves a good prospect, which is nice, but we could maybe try and move up because we do have a lot of third rounders. So let's take a look at the retired players quickly. Not that this matters too much. Okay, it does kind of matter. Wow, Matvei Michkov already retires. That's a very big surprise. Wow, 1,500 points almost. Crazy career from him. Byfield retires. Genther. Frank Nazar retires. So a couple of former players in Byfield and Nazar. Wow. I was not expecting some of these guys to retire already. Some EA-generated guys that are 34 years old are retiring. Well, we're definitely due for some retirements in the next few years for sure, I think, at that rate. Even Andrew Cristall, who was with us for a little bit, I think. Wow. Yeah, I wasn't expecting all these young kind of guys to retire. Defensively, the best defenseman to retire, Quinn Hughes. He finally hangs them up. Matejchuk also up there. Yeah, some guys are retiring really young, though. 35 and 33, 34 years old. Oh, that's not our former Neiman, and I was gonna, or Niittymaki. That's a different Niittymaki. I was gonna say our former Niittymaki already retired, but he didn't. Parstein, we had this guy for a tiny little bit, I think, if I remember right. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. A lot of young guys are already retiring. Like Matthew Addison just retired too. Like we're getting that late into the series. Scott Ratzlaff retires as well. Former pick of ours, but never played a game for us. So shout out to him. And that is all the retirements. Actually, wait. Yeah, I thought so. Joshua Patterson was a pick of ours. He actually had a 4-1 record. I didn't even realize that. When did we play him? Like a decade ago. Damn, I don't even remember playing him in the NHL, to be honest. But he has not played since. And he retires at 35. So shout out to all those former players for hanging them up. So there is that. Let's take a look at what this draft class is looking like. Let's take a look. Actually, let's look at the progress reports and contracts first, because the draft class is obviously the thing that we always want to see. But let's take a look at this stuff first. So, yeah, we're getting drop off drastically from Brunstrom, and even Vance is dropping off a lot. Reefers too. Yikes. This is the type of thing you do not want to see when your good players are starting to drop off. At least Brunstrom's heading into the last year of his contract, but this guy, very close to retirement probably. And then Vance dropping off as well. Ooh, no. He might retire at 36, which would not be ideal. For sure. Tyukin jumped up to an 87. Well, I think we should probably trade out Torres at the draft. Just because of that, because Torres has 1 year left still. Didn't expect Tyukin to be an 87 overall after 1 year in the NHL. I mean, we could run 2 really stud goaltenders, but we got guys in the system that eventually could come up too, though. So the medium elites are getting some good development. That's nice to see. Ooh, wow. Kelpinen jumped to an 81. When did I draft this guy? 6th round. Holy crap. I didn't expect this guy to be an 81 at 20. So we have some prospects that are definitely ready to jump up, which means our rebuild is going to go a lot faster. Like, it's going to be more of a mini retool. Because Kelpinen, NHL bound, he's already listed as a top 4. We need to get rid of somebody on the defensive core, I guess. Bonino is getting close. Odi Marchessault is getting close. Fergon's maybe a year or 2 away. Yeah, I'm liking that development on the defensive front. These guys are all more fringe NHLers, but Brookbank is getting close. A couple years out still, maybe 1 year out. Laxo is getting close, but he's 23. Holden's a couple years away still. Faith is still a long shot. What else we got here? Nothing else really. Yeah, we're getting a lot of good growth in the system, and that's always a positive. So there is that. Let's look at those contract situations. Who's up for renewal this offseason? Brossoit is the big one. Bressois is the big one. 1 year, $9 million is not bad, but he is going to be starting to drop off soon, so we could potentially let him go. We do have RFAs like Huxley, Burish, Hutton, Del Monte. Camachi's a pending UFA. I don't know if I bring him back, to be honest, because Kauppanen is ready to jump in. And Kauppanen is not even signed yet, but he's a top 4 defenseman. Insane. This guy's developed really well. Like, he doesn't have great passing for a two-way defenseman, but this guy looks really good. So I am pretty happy with that development from him. Also, Tayuki needs a contract. He doesn't really want that much, which is really surprising. But if we go 8 years, he wants a lot. So this guy's going to develop into being a really high overall goaltender and getting very pricey, likely. So there is all that. Now we got to take a look at the draft class. We have the 4th overall selection. Is there a good player at number 4? Or are we going to want to move up? So at 4, we could get a left wing power forward in Curtis Coburn, who is a stud, like Owen Nolan. He's got great shooting, great puck skills, good senses, skating. Everything is pretty good with this guy. Doesn't necessarily have a zone ability, though, which is kind of weird, but does have back at you, truculence, and unstoppable force. So he might be more of a physical power forward than anything. There's a DFD, but I'm probably not going to draft myself a DFD. If we were to move up, though, there is a two-way defenseman in Blomstrand, kind of like Brent Burns. We have Lincoln Boyd, who's a sniper. Looks pretty good as well, kind of like Mikko Koivu, apparently. And then there's Isaiah Haskins, who's the medium elite power forward gem, supposed to go number 1. So this guy has 3 A+ categories. Boyd has 2 A+ categories. Blomstrand has no A+, and Coburn has 2 A+. So technically Haskins is definitely the best player in this bunch, but we could easily take Coburn with our 4th overall selection too. Or we could try and move up, but it might not be worth it. We do have a shit ton of 4ths, so let's just pin Coburn because I think him would be a good pick. Let's sort by potential, see if there's anything in later rounds we could pin. So we got some medium elite goaltenders. Not that those matter too much, but I'll pin them just because I know they're medium elite for sure. No other guaranteed medium elites. Let's see if there's any low elites for later rounds. There's a low elite power forward in Dallas Bruce potentially for the 2nd round. Might be, actually he is guaranteed low elite, but I don't know if he's a power forward for sure. Kenneth Liston as well might be decent. This is a gem, so he might be actually a top 6. An enforcer defenseman. And low elite enforcer defenseman maybe. Damn. Yeah, this class, I mean, I don't know if it looks insanely good, but I mean, at least we're having a top 5 selection this year, so I think Curtis Coburn would be my best bet to take, because honestly, this guy could be easily, kind of like a top 6 replacement for Vance if Vance is retired in the next 1 to 2 seasons. So, and then he would bring the offense. Or we could try and move up and get Isaiah Haskins, who's only a little bit better, because technically there's the 3 A+, and the other 3 are just A's. With Coburn, you have the 2 A+, you have 2 A's, and then 2 A-. So he's definitely probably like, I'd say he's probably like an 80 overall, maybe 81. And then Haskins is probably like in the 83, 84 range, my guess. I don't know. And Boyd's probably the same as Coburn. Blomstrand is probably the weakest of the bunch, probably like a 78, 79. But yeah, at least we have a top 5 pick this year. But once again, I'll show you guys the draft board with all our picks. So this is all the picks we have in this year's draft. We could easily trade away a bunch of these 3rds for next year instead for like a 2nd rounder, so we can basically just move up for a future year, because I don't know if we're going to really hit on any of these 3rd round picks, but we could definitely move away some of them if we want to. I'll also show you quickly the depth chart. You can see our weaknesses and our strengths. There we go. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the draft and re-sign stage, and we'll pretty much try and keep as much of the team together as possible, but we'll probably end up letting go of some players if you guys think there's anybody like Bressois we should let go of, and then hopefully some of the youth integration and the prospects we get in this year's draft, especially the top 5 pick, can help us out next year into getting back to the playoffs. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.